Picture this, a freezing December night in New York City. The streets are bustling with holiday shoppers, the air filled with the sound of carolers, and the faint scent of roasted chestnuts. Amidst this festive chaos, a man sits alone on the cold pavement, his body trembling under a thin, worn-out blanket. This man, Ethan, is invisible to the world. His gaze is fixed on the ground, a tattered family photograph clutched tightly in his hand, a reminder of the life he once had and lost. But this night, this cold, lonely night, would change his life forever. A sleek black car pulled up nearby, its polished surface reflecting the glow of nearby street lamps. A tall, imposing figure stepped out. Donald J. Trump. His suit was immaculate, his face set with the kind of determination that had made him a household name worldwide. Trump's gaze scanned the area, and then it locked onto Ethan. The moment felt like fate, a seemingly random encounter that would set into motion a chain of events that would not only transform Ethan's life, but also reveal the side of Donald Trump that few ever saw. What happens next is a story of compassion, resilience, and the extraordinary power of kindness. But before we dive into this life-changing tale, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Stories like this not only inspire, but also remind us of the good that still exists in the world. Make sure to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our future videos. Ethan McAllister was not always the man you see now, sitting hunched over on the streets of New York, a shadow of the life he once led. He had once been a man of purpose, a proud carpenter known for his skill and craftsmanship. His work adorned the homes of families, and his reputation was that of a reliable, hard-working man who could be trusted with anything. He had a beautiful family, his high school sweetheart, Laura, by his side, and two children, Emily and Jake, who adored him. They lived in a small, cozy home on the outskirts of a peaceful town. Ethan loved his work. It wasn't about the money for him. It was about building something with his own hands, leaving behind a legacy that would stand the test of time. But life has a cruel way of throwing curveballs. One fateful day, while working on a construction site, Ethan slipped from a scaffold, falling several feet to the ground. The fall left him with a serious spinal injury, and from that day forward, nothing in his life would be the same. Months passed, and Ethan underwent several surgeries, but the pain never ceased. Unable to return to his trade, he was soon out of work. The financial strain took its toll on his family, and after a year of mounting medical bills and growing stress, Laura, unable to bear the burden, left Ethan with the children. She moved across the state, hoping to start a new life. Ethan was devastated. His children, his home, his livelihood, all of it was gone. What followed was a downward spiral. A man once respected in his community, now living on the streets, his pride crushed, and his future uncertain. On the other side of New York City, Donald Trump's life could not have been more different. He was a billionaire real estate mogul, a man whose name was synonymous with wealth and power. He had spent his life building empires from the ground up, his towering buildings dominating the skyline of Manhattan. Trump was known for his business acumen, his bold decisions, and his larger-than-life personality. His life was filled with luxury. He had the best cars, the most expensive suits, and an empire that stretched across the globe. But as much as the world marveled at his success, few knew the driving force behind it all. His unwavering belief in hard work, perseverance, and the idea that anyone, no matter where they came from, could rise to the top. Despite his public persona, Trump was not a stranger to hardship. His father, Fred Trump, had instilled in him the value of hard work from a young age. The lessons he learned were simple, but profound. Do what you say you'll do, work harder than anyone else, and help those who are deserving of a second chance. Trump's life was a whirlwind of business meetings, media appearances, and public engagements. But on this cold winter night, he would find himself on a path that would lead him to cross with a man who had lost everything. It was one of those nights when the chill of winter bites at your skin and numbs your bones. The streets of Manhattan were alive, glittering with the lights of holiday decorations and the sound of laughter from nearby cafes. But just steps away from the hustle and bustle of the city, Ethan sat on the sidewalk, his thin coat doing little to protect him from the cold. His stomach growled, but he knew there was no food to be found tonight. He clutched the photograph of his children tightly, his mind replaying the days when they'd been little, and he'd been the one to tuck them into bed at night. Now, they were miles away, living a life without him. As he sat there, eyes glazed over, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. He didn't look up. He had long since stopped expecting help from anyone. But then, a voice interrupted his thoughts. "Hey, are you okay?" Ethan's head snapped up. Standing before him was a tall man, dressed in an impeccable suit, his expression one of genuine concern. It was none other than Donald Trump. For a moment, Ethan wondered if he was imagining it. Trump, noticing the hesitation, crouched down next to him. "What's your story?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. Ethan was taken aback. No one ever asked him that anymore. He opened his mouth, unsure of what to say, and then he began speaking, slowly at first, but then with more conviction. Ethan shared the story of his fall from grace, his accident, the loss of his family, his battle with depression, and his life on the streets. Trump listened intently, never interrupting. There was no judgment in his eyes, only curiosity and empathy. When Ethan finished speaking, Trump stood up, his hands clasped behind his back. "I can help you," he said, surprising Ethan even further. "Help me?" Ethan asked, his voice full of disbelief. "I'm just a man who's lost everything. I don't know what help there is left for me." Trump turned to his assistant, who was standing nearby. "Get this man a room at the Plaza Hotel. He needs a warm bed and a decent meal." Ethan's eyes widened. I can't accept that. I don't deserve that kind of help." But Trump didn't listen to his protests. He turned back to Ethan, his gaze unwavering. "Everyone deserves a second chance. Don't waste yours." Trump's words hit Ethan like a wave crashing into him. He was being offered something he never thought possible, a chance to start over. The next few days felt like a dream to Ethan. He found himself in a luxurious hotel room at the Plaza, eating 3 full meals a day, and receiving medical care for his injuries. Trump had arranged for physical therapy to help him recover from his spinal injury. But it wasn't just about the physical healing. It was about something much deeper, the restoration of his dignity. Trump's gesture had shown Ethan that he still had worth, that he wasn't beyond redemption. As the days went by, Trump checked in on him, offering words of encouragement and advice. Ethan's recovery wasn't easy. There were days when the pain seemed unbearable, and he wondered if he could ever return to his old life. But Trump's support never wavered. He encouraged Ethan to keep going, to push through the darkness and fight for his future. As Ethan regained his strength, Trump gave him a job on one of his renovation projects. The work was hard, but Ethan threw himself into it with the same dedication he had once had as a carpenter. The sense of purpose he'd lost so long ago was returning. Ethan's transformation didn't just affect his own life. His story began to spread among the people Trump worked with. Others saw how one man's act of kindness had changed everything for Ethan, and many began to wonder how they could do the same for others. Trump, witnessing the impact of his decision, launched a new initiative to help others like Ethan, skilled workers who had fallen on hard times but still had the potential to rebuild their lives. A year later, Ethan had completely turned his life around. He was living in a small apartment, working full-time on Trump's renovation projects, and even reconnected with his children. He was no longer a man who had lost everything. He was a man who had found a second chance, thanks to the kindness of one person who saw beyond his circumstances. At the annual gala held at Trump Tower, Trump stood before a room full of influential people and made a speech. "Tonight, we celebrate not just the success of our business, but the success of a life turned around. Ethan, come up here and tell us your story." Ethan stood up, tears in his eyes as the crowd cheered. "If it weren't for Mr. Trump," he said, his voice shaking with emotion, "I'd still be out there, alone, with no hope. He gave me a chance when no one else would. And that's why I'm here today." Ethan's story is more than just an inspiring tale of redemption. It's a reminder that, in this fast-paced, often indifferent world, a single act of kindness can change someone's entire life. It's about second chances, how they can give people the strength to rebuild and transform. And it's about never giving up on people, no matter how far they've fallen. Because sometimes, the greatest gift we can offer someone is the belief in their ability to rise again. If Ethan's story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that remind us of the goodness in the world. Share this video to spread hope and kindness. And remember, every person you meet is fighting a battle you may not see. Let's be the change we wish to see in the world.